Hey guys, this video is going to go over special slopes of different lines. Alright, so in the last video that you watched, we only covered positive slopes. So kind of think if this was a hill and you were riding your bike up it, okay, you're going uphill. So anytime the line looks like it's going up, it has a positive slope. Okay, now if I would have drew a line going like this, okay, as I go from left to right, this line's going down. So anytime the line is going down from left to right, it has a negative slope. All the lines that I gave you in the last video were all positive slopes. They were all going up. So you might want to add to your notes and draw an example. Positive slopes, again, are going up as you go from left to right. So think as you're like reading a book or reading anything, you always read from left to right. So as I go this way, what's happening to the line? Well, this is going up, so it's going to have a positive slope. Okay, if we come over to this one, as I go from left to right, the line is going down, so this one has a negative slope. So I'm going to draw a couple lines. I want you to see if you can figure out what kind of slope these four lines have. So think to yourself, what does each of them have? Okay, this line here has a positive slope. It's going up from left to right. This line here has a negative slope. As you go from left to right, it's going down. This line over here also has a negative slope. Again, as I'm going from left to right, it's going down. And this one, as I go from left to right, it's going up. So this one has a positive slope. Alright, so we have a couple problems where we have to find the slope of these lines. So first thing I always want you guys to do from now on when you're trying to find the slope is right away just look at the line and think to yourself, does it have a positive or a negative slope? Okay, so this first line, as I go from left to right, it's going up, so it has a positive slope. Okay, so right away down below, I'm just going to write positive just so I remember it has a positive slope. Okay, so now I'm going to pick my 2 points, and I'm going to figure out, well, how much do I go up between those 2 points? Remember, there's the rise. Well, I go up 2, and then how much do I go over? I'm going over 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope is positive 2/4. I can simplify that to a half. Okay, now if I go back and let's just kind of see if this works. What if I was going to try to go up 1/2? Because, right, that's what our slope says now. My rise is 1, my run is 2. So if I went up 1/2, look, there's my next point that would be on the line. Again, if I went up 1/2, there's my next point. So 2/4 is the same as 1/2, and you can see it on the picture. Both of those slopes work to get the next points. Okay, let's look at example number 3 now. As I look at this line, as I go from left to right, it's going down. Okay, so right away I realize that it has a negative slope. So I just want to make myself a note down here so I don't forget it's negative. Okay, now I have 2 points. I have to find the slope. Okay, now kind of watch as I go. I'm going to go from this point to this point. So I'm going down 1, 2, 3. Now, since I was going down, I'm going to write that as -3 because I was going down. And then I went over to the right one. So my slope is -3/1. Another way you can write that is just -3/1. The negative doesn't really have to go with the top or bottom. You just need to make sure you have it. So again, this slope is down 3/1, so -3/1. Okay, I have another picture here, and I want to try to find the slope of this line. Sorry, not picture. So first thing, I'm going to look at my line. First, you should look at your line, and as I go from left to right, it's going down. So I know it has a negative slope. I'm just going to make myself a little reminder. Don't want to forget that. Okay, so now between your 2 points, okay, I'm going to go from this top one to the bottom one. So I need to do my rise first. I'm not really rising, I'm falling, but it's still the same kind of thing. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's down 4. So since I went down, I'm going to write -4 over, and then I went over 1, 2. So my slope is -4/2. Now let's think of another way to write that. If I simplify that, if I divide the top and the bottom by 2, I end up getting -2/1. So my slope could also be -2/1. Now let's kind of see what would happen if I did that from this point. if I went down 2 over 1, do you guys see how I get a point there? And then down 2 over 1. I could keep going. Down 2 over 1. I have all those points on the line. So there's my slope, -2 over 1. Okay, now there are some other special slopes that we need to be able to find. So the first is of a line that is straight across. Now I want you just to think about that. If you were riding your bike on a road that was like this, what would the steepness be of that line? Or what would the slope? Is there any steepness? Not really. It's flat. So we have to have a number that will kind of represent that steepness of no steepness. So think in your head, what do you think that number is going to be? Okay, so here's what we can do to actually find out what the slope of a horizontal or flat line is. Okay, so between those 2 points, I don't go up any. I go up to 0. Okay, so I'm going to write my rise is 0. Now my run in between these 2 points is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 0 over 7. Well, if you guys can think about this in your head, what's 0 divided by anything? Well, it's 0. So a horizontal line has a slope of 0. Okay, it's flat. It has no steepness, no slope. It's flat. So any horizontal line that's a straight line going across has a slope of 0. So I think you should probably add that to your notes. So a horizontal line, here's how you spell horizontal. A horizontal line has a slope of 0. All right, now we have another special line, and that's a vertical line. So look at this line here. Think if you were trying to ride your bike or walk up a hill that was that steep, would you be able to do it? Not really, unless you were rappelling or doing something else. So this line is so steep, it's going to be hard to give it a number. Now let's just see if we would pick 2 points on this line. Okay, here's a point. I can just take this point. Okay, I'm going to start by finding my rise. So between those 2 points, I went up 1. And I didn't go over at all, so I'm going to put, I went over 0. Now, if you guys remember, you cannot divide by 0. You cannot have 0 on the bottom of a fraction. It's impossible to split 1 into 0 groups, because there's at least going to be 1 group. So you can't divide by 0. So a vertical line actually has a special slope, and it's called undefined. It's like so steep we can't define what the slope is, so we call it undefined. So any vertical line has a slope that's undefined. So let's put that in our notes. I would draw a vertical line, and then I would write the slope is undefined. Now, I also might want you to add this to your note. I found a little picture that might help you, if you put this in your notes, to find slopes, and it's called a slope tree. So if you want to kind of jot this down, okay, I'm going to draw kind of like a little tree here. Here's my stem. Okay, if I take a look at this line going up on the first part of the tree, that line is going up, so it has a positive slope. So I'm just going to kind of show that we have a line going up. On that side of the tree, it's positive slope. On the opposite side of the tree, this line from left to right is going down. So this slope over here is negative. Okay, if I go across the bottom now, let me just grab a different color here. If I go across the bottom, this is a straight horizontal line. So it has 0 slope or no slope. Okay, there's no steepness to it, so no slope or 0 you can put. And then if you look at this, the little stump here, it's a vertical, straight up and down line, and that has an undefined slope. Okay, so we have just this little picture of a slope tree. Hopefully that'll maybe help with you having a picture of all the different types of slopes in your notes. Okay, now another thing that we're going to be doing is finding the slope through some points. Okay, so I might ask you to actually graph a couple points and then find the slope. So just as a quick review on how to graph, just remember when you're graphing, so you don't get confused with slope, it's x comma y. So when you're actually graphing, it's not rise over run, remember. You have to do the x first, then the y. So I'm going to start at 0, 0. Okay, and it says go -2. So I'm going to go over -2, And then the y is -3, so I need to go down 1, 2, 3. So there's my first point. Again, I went over 2, down -3. Okay, so be careful when you're graphing so you don't get mixed up. The second point is over 6, up 0, right? I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's my x. My y is 0. So I'm going to put that point there. Okay, so I just gave you 2 points. Now I'm going to draw a line between those 2 points. I'm going to grab a darker color. Okay, and then I want us to find the slope. So I still have my 2 points there. And let's see if we can find the slope. So first thing I noticed is that I know my slope is positive. My line's going up. Okay, so now let's see how much we go up between these points. I go up 1, 2, 3. So my rise is 3. And then I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my run is 8. So my slope here is positive 3/8. Okay, so the last thing that you're going to have to be able to do with this is I might give you a point. Let's say I give you the point 4, 3. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is just plot that. So I'm going to go, remember it's x, y when I'm putting points on the graph. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 3. There's my coordinate. Okay, now I might tell you that I want you to draw a line from that point that has a slope of 2/3. Okay, now remember, when you have slope, the top number is the rise, the bottom number is the run. So from this point, it says I need to rise 2, so I'm going to go up 2, and then it says I need to run or go over 3. And it's just all positive, so I'm going to go over to the right 1, 2, 3. So there's my next point on that line. Okay, now let's say I want the next point. I'm going to go up 2, over 3 again, get my next point. Now, what if you wanted to get the point that was down here? You can see that it's going a straight line like this. So what if I wanted this next point over here? Well, you can actually do the opposite. You can go down 2, back 3. There would be your next point. Then I can go down 2, back 3. Oops, 1, 2, 3. And there's my next point. Okay, now I can actually connect those points and make a line. Good. Let me just show you one more of those real quick. Okay, now what if I gave you the point, and I'll just write it down here, -4, 6. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just graph that. Now remember, this is the x, so I got to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there's that point. Now let's say this time for this line, I want it to be a slope of -2/3. Okay, now remember, slope is rise over run. Okay, now that negative you can put with either the top or the bottom, doesn't matter. I'm going to put it with the top. So it says my rise from this point is -2, so instead of going up, I need to go down 2, and then the run is 3, so I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, put a point. Same thing, if I want to get another point, I'm going to go down 2, over 1, 2, 3. Now, if I wanted to get, I can see that it's making a line here. If I want to get this point back here, I'm going to do the opposite. So now it's like, instead of having that negative on the top, I have it on the bottom. So let's kind of see how that works. So now I'm going to go up 2 and back 3, because it's got the -3 there. Now, if you look, it's making a straight line, and between all those points, it's the same slope everywhere. All right, so those were a couple problems with actually graphing. Okay, now I just want to mention to you guys, if you need to watch any examples again, if you didn't understand something, go back, watch it again, okay? You don't have to watch the whole video. You just need to watch a part or watch one example again if you're not getting something. All right, sounds good.